I don't like that you insinuated that Idris Elba is not actually a time wizard.
Welcome to season 6, where we're phoning it in.
You don't think critically and then put a Pop-Tart into your body.
I am highly caffeinated and minorly concussed.
Aruga!
What came first, the love sack or the gravity gun?
It's my turn to do a sin with Sonic.
This is for the freaks.
Too much piss.
That's the kind of bad decisions we like to hear about.
Love me a sleepy ass bat.
How much shrimp can you fit in your mortal body?
You told me you guys would be cool.
That's season 6 intro material right there.
Hello and welcome to Debate This, a show where no one is right, but someone is definitely wrong. In this show, we take time out of our busy adult lives to talk about comic books, video games, and how Adult Swim has doomed themselves to getting sent terabytes and terabytes of unsolicited Rick and Morty audition tapes.
That is a real thing that someone is going to have to reckon with, and I feel so bad for them.
I saw on Twitter some woman in comedy posted something like, "This is hard because the LA is bereft of 30-something men doing bad Justin Roiland impressions."
Yeah, there's no shortage of bad Justin Roiland impressions, and everyone wants to be the next Rick and Morty cast member.
Mm-hmm.
The best take I saw on this is just make it Charlie Day and Danny DeVito and be done with it.
Call it a day. This is completely different.
Yeah.
I like
love
that, but in the realm of completely different, I would like it if they just cold swap Justin Roiland for Idris Elba. I think that Idris Elba just playing it straight would be an excellent Rick and Morty.
Someone said Maya Rudolph should be one of the two voices, and just don't say shit about it.
Only if she gets to say Bubba Bath a whole bunch of times.
I do not want a single line in the show referencing the change in voice actors.
Right.
Doesn't need to happen. But we're not talking about Rick and Morty today.
Thank God.
In fact,
Thank God.
we are talking about a topic near and dear to my heart, because this is another commissioned flavor text, guys.
Woo.
And I was so busy preparing for this episode that I did not write anything about flavor texts, commissioning, or our Patreon. So I'm going to kick things over to Andrew.
Yeah, I'd love to, Kyle. Let's just do this off the cuff. So, Hey, everybody, this is a flavor text. You know what these are. These are where we talk about a bunch of wild shit. This happens to be the third time we've talked about Magic the Gathering, but the difference between today and the last 2 times we've talked about Magic the Gathering is today's episode is commissioned by our very own Zakix up in the Discord. Zakix has been a long-time card-carrying member of Buttthwomp. Hashtag Buttthwomp
Card-carrying.
Yeah, we do have cards, I think. Yes?
Those are going to be sent out very soon, actually.
Cool. Then soon y'all will be able to call yourself card-carrying members. Hey, you might be listening and saying it's been a while since I've heard about them talk about flavor text. I would like to do one. How do I do that? Well, listener who I've just referenced, I have great news for you, because you may remember a couple months ago we said we are closing the doors to the Hall of Wonders that is flavor text commissions. Great news, everybody. Starting this month, we are opening back the Hall of Wonders, and everybody listening will now be able to once again commission flavor texts by visiting patreon.com/debatethiscast. Please do not take out that pregnant pause.
It was really pregnant. It was like
It was
9
super
full months pregnant.
Yeah.
Sure.
That pregnancy was in its 4th trimester.
Okay, everybody. So by visiting patreon.com/debatethiscast, you can subscribe at the Master Debater tier. Now, previously, we were asking people to be a part of that tier for a total of 3 months. We have changed that back to being a one-time payment. So to summarize, patreon.com/debatethiscast. Go to Master Debater tier, pay $60 one time, and immediately flip your subscription down to, I don't know, the $5 tier. I'm not your dad. You do whatever the hell you want. But that is how you can commission your very own episode of Flavor Text. Someone will be getting in touch with you to ask you, what do you want to talk about? And that's pretty much it. So patreon.com/debatethiscast, Master Debater, $60 one time. Back to you, Kyle.
Thank you, Andrew. question from me. When will that go live? You said this month. Do we have a hard date, or is that?
It's already live.
It's live now. The call was coming from inside the house the whole time.
This is me, my verbal reminder to have made it live by the time this goes up to on air. We are consummate professionals.
We're
Let's get
consummate
into
professionals. Matt, you can leave in and take out as much of me asking that question as you deem fit.
I don't edit these anymore. That's Todd.
Todd, the editor of this episode, will be a fair and just God.
Good. So like Andrew said, this is the third Magic the Gathering flavor text. For those of you who have not been listening to the show since day one, this is the third part of a 2-part series that I did of my own will and volition in 2019. I caught everyone up to the story where it stood for the card game Magic the Gathering, where it stood in 2019. 4 years have passed since then. 5 years? 4 years. 4 years have passed since then. Time is weird.
Decades.
A
lifetime has passed.
A whole pandemic has happened in the interim, and we take commissions now. So there's more story to catch you guys up on, and that's my goal here today. But I can't do it alone, because otherwise I would be talking into a mic by myself about Magic the Gathering. So I am joined today by Matt Belladros Witherbloom Cole, Andrew Tyrite Shard Henderson, and Todd Realmbreaker Thomas to catch you up on the story as
One of those
stands.
doesn't belong. With the
I
other
win.
two.
It's fine. No questions.
Because there has been a 4-year interim since the last time we did one of these, I'm going to do a quick recap. If you did not listen to those episodes, I highly recommend you pause this one and go listen to those before you do. But in case you don't want to do that, this should get you mostly caught up with the story, shaving off about 4 hours of fine detail. So, previously on Dragon Ball Z, there was a plane called Dominaria, which served as the main setting of the Magic the Gathering story. Planes, worlds are interchangeable in this story.
And again, to clarify, it's PLANE, like a plane of existence.
Yes, a plane of existence. There are special magic users called Planeswalkers who are able to traverse these planes due to an inherent ability they have. We don't know where it comes from. We don't know what causes it, but certain people got it, and they can use it to travel between the planes. So, like I said, there was a plane called Dominaria, which served as the main setting of especially the first part of the main Magic the Gathering story. From that plane, a weird necromancer named Yawgmoth created an interplanar threat in the way of a race called Phyrexians, a race of techno-zombies. If you think the White Walkers from Game of Thrones meet the Borg from Star Trek, you're got a good idea of what they are in your head.
I remember the Phyrexians looking rad as shit.
Oh, we're going to get more rad Phyrexians
I gotta say,
this episode.
I gotta say already, I am surprised at how much I remember. Like, you're saying proper nouns, and I'm just like, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. You're so right.
See, I'm struggling. The only thing that sticks out in my brain largely is the big cat man, Ajani. Ajani.
And Johnny.
And also
singular
Johnny.
Johnny.
Yeah. Well,
singular
Todd,
Johnny.
It all starts when they get transported to Battle World.
Yeah, right. That's when he gets the black suit.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to it, Johnny. We haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, thank God.
Okay. So we have Yawgmoth created an interplanar threat in the way of Phyrexians, a race of techno-zombies. Yawgmoth pissed off a powerful planeswalker, Urza, who waged a centuries-long war to ultimately kill Yawgmoth and stifle the Phyrexian threat. Urza trained the Time Mage Teferi, who you might remember from the previous episodes as looking a lot like Idris Elba, but he's a time wizard, and the planeswalking golem Karn.
Sure.
Karn, a giant silver golem who planeswalks.
I don't like that you insinuated that Idris Elba is not actually a time wizard, because I don't think that you know that.
That's fair, Matt.
Yeah, I'm not here for the Idris Elba slander. I didn't sign up for that.
That is on me. Let me try that again. You might remember Teferi as looking like Idris Elba. No other modifiers.
Excellent. That'll go through DT legal.
So we have Teferi and Karn. Teferi and Karn both survive this Phyrexian war. Urza does not. Teferi phases himself out of time as an act of protest against Urza at some point. So he takes his whole hometown, home continent, and just kind of yeets it out of time for a few
He
centuries.
literally sticks his proverbial ball, and goes home.
Takes his ball and goes home. Karn fights the whole war, survives it, and afterwards tries his hand at godhood and creates the metallic plane Mirrodin. Teferi comes back at some point and regains his planeswalking spark while fixing a series of time rifts all over the plane of Dominaria in an event called the Mending, which also served to nerf planeswalkers across the multiverse. Okay. That is the quick summary of episode 1. If that sounded like noun soup to you, go listen to that episode.
Which is a 2-part episode, right?
Well, that was the summary of part 1 of that 2 parts, and then this is part 2. After all of that, a group of young planeswalkers, Jace Beleren, Chandra Nalar, Nissara Van, Gideon Jura, Liliana Vess, and Ajani Goldmane, Todd, form a group dedicated to stopping multiversal threats called the Gatewatch. Initially in order to save the adventure plane Zendikar from the Eldrazi, eldritch monsters that live in the space between planes and only come to planes to consume them entirely.
Yeah, they're doing a Mass Effect.
The audience learns that the Eldrazi were unleashed as part of an ongoing plot by the Elder Dragon planeswalker Nicole Bolas, the main villain of the second part of the story here, and he unleashes them. His whole plot is to restore the full power of his spark after getting nerfed by the Mending.
I do find it hilariously whimsical that this Elder Dragon god's name is Nicole.
Yes.
Nicole Bolas, Nikki B, as I've seen him called in the threads.
Nikki B.
He's a big old dragon, and he's got a plot going on. As his plan unfolds, Nicole Bolas collects powerful artifacts, alliances, and godhood at one point, and springs a trap on the city plane of Ravnica in an attempt to harvest the power and sparks of other planeswalkers. That's kind of where I left you guys at the end of that 2-part episode.
I forgot about Ravnica. That's another weird tie-in from Magic the Gathering to Dungeons and Dragons. That's another thing. They're just copy and pasting.
Yeah, Ravnica becomes kind of the second hub after we leave Dominaria, after Dominaria wraps up.
Kyle, not to get off a tangent, but does the story change dramatically, or does the story make any big shifts in history when Wizards took over D&D?
No. Yeah. And to the point where I don't entirely know when that happens in the story.
Because, obviously now they're in basically the same universe, right?
Basically, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So, where we last left the story, our heroes, the Gatewatch, were on Ravnica, trapped there by God Pharaoh Nicole Bolas, who is in the process of stealing the sparks of some red shirt planeswalkers, for lack of a better term. And in the process, he kills fan favorite Dak Faden, who I meant to throw a picture in. who you will find in the Imgur link in the footnotes of this podcast.
Why is his hand all red?
Oh,
looks
this
like-
guy fucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does fuck. He also looks like the Prince of Persia from the Prince of Persia reboots.
Prince of Persia
Yes.
is a good comparison. So this is
These
Dak
two.
Faden. He is a thief planeswalker.
Sure.
If you think
Okay.
like Peter
course.
Quill,
Fast thief.
if you think Peter Quill but magic instead
I can
of
change him.
space, yeah,
I can change him. He'll be different this time.
He's absolutely got daddy issues. No bones about that.
To answer your question, Todd, his hand is all red because he got caught at some point in his like long career of thievery, and that was like that planes or kingdoms or whatever is like way to be like, this man is a thief. Don't ever trust him.
Cover his head in
dipped it-
ketchup.
They dipped
Yeah.
it in that old red medicine our grandparents used, methylate. They dipped it right in there, and now
Ooh.
it's permanently red.
What a weird pull methylate.
That might just be a thing for
That
my
might be a
childhood.
that might
I
be
don't
a
know who
Todd
that's
thing.
for.
That might
Hey,
just
get
be
at-
for you.
That's a
Get
Todd.
at me, T-Square87, if you too have had an experience with methylate. Anyway,
Get in the
Yeah.
comments. Hashtag
Get in-
methylene nation.
get in the comments.
Is it methylate or methylene? I'm asking because this is important to the middle name bit I'm going to do 2 hours from now.
Damn it, Matt.
Okay, sorry, we're doing this now. Growing up, my great-grandfather, who worked in a factory his whole life, would put methylate on all his cuts, and I think it's methylate. It was like a red medicine that
Oh,
you can't
you know
tell me
what?
wasn't
My dad
poisonous.
had a similar tincture that he would
Yeah.
use, but his
Yeah,
his
tincture.
his tincture was purple. So I do know what you're talking about for sure.
methylate.
Methylate.
Great, thank you.
Great. So that's Dak Faden. He dies with a bunch of like no-name planeswalkers to show you like, hey, maybe one of your favorites is gonna die through the process of this story. So while Nicole Bolas is stealing the sparks of these planeswalkers, Liliana Vess, who has been magically extorted into working for him, is controlling his interdimensional zombie army.
Dope.
Very dope. The Gatewatch hatch a plan to stop him, obviously, which involves destroying some of his artifacts. The big one is the Immortal Sun, a device that is preventing planeswalkers from planeswalking away from Ravnica. But also resurrecting an ancient Ravnican dragon, Niv Mizzet, who is going to appear in the show notes as well. Because
So this is already just like Secret Wars in Phase 4 of the
It is.
MCU. Holy shit.
Matt, this whole episode we're recording is like the Phase 4 of the MCU of the Magic universe.
Whole ass dragon.
Yep.
yeah, I mean, it's a big ass dragon.
It's a dragon.
Big ass dragon.
Yeah, it looks rad. Great.
So they resurrect Niv Mizzet as basically like the living embodiment of Ravnica. It's a really cool payoff moment. Niv Mizzet is the head of the scientist guild on Ravnica. He's got a big dragon brain, but also ADHD. So like he'll like work on something or like be doing something, and he's like, I'm bored, and he'll like fly off and
Just fucking leaves.
just leave and go do something else.
Incredible.
He's kind of an asshole, but in the fun way, like, because he just leaves when he gets bored of stuff, or he'll come in and he's like, "We're not doing this anymore. We're doing this now because I'm the guy in charge, and I'm bored of this." He's been in.
We're still talking about the dragon, right?
still talking about the dragon.
Yeah, I mean, if a dragon's like, "Hey, you thought we were doing this? LOL, JK, I'm a dragon,
Yeah,
and we're not anymore."
yeah. He has been in every Ravnican set. He got killed at the start of this kind of story arc, and so it's very fun that they bring him back.
Are all these characters, are they all represented as planeswalkers, or do they throw a couple like mythic rare monsters here and there?
So Niv is not a planeswalker. He's just a dragon-ass dragon. So, but all the planeswalkers do get represented as planeswalkers.
It's capital P planeswalkers.
Capital P planeswalkers. So once so they turn off the immortal sun, allowing people to planeswalk away again. And once all of the planeswalkers who want to leave, the Gatewatch reactivate it. Now with the intention of now trapping Nicol Bolas on Ravnica so they can put a stop to him. Keep him there, put him down. They attack his stronghold. There's a really cool moment where Gideon is flying in on a Pegasus to attack him, and he gets shot down, but he gets caught by Rakdos, an ancient Ravnican demon. Similar to Niv Mizzet, he's loved by fans. He's been in every set. He's the head of the Chaos Guild, for lack of a better word. They exist to ruin things. So he gets caught by this demon that now has appeared in your notes. And we get Gideon riding a demon into battle, wielding a legendary dragon-killing sword.
This demon is so sick.
It's really cool.
Holy shit. I
really,
cannot
really cool.
even begin to tell you how many Google image searches 13-year-old me used to sit and do to look at dragons and flames and demons and shit. And I'm in.
Right. This is a Baylor is what this is.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's one whole half of a Molly Hatchet cover.
Every Rakdos
Who's that for?
card,
Sorry, Matt.
every card representing the Rakdos Guild could be a metal album cover. They're the metal guild. So Gideon leaps off of this demon's back and he strikes Nicol Bolas with the Black Blade, this legendary dragon killing sword, only for it to break. Nicol Bolas reveals that he sabotaged the sword long before Gideon ever thought to take it from Dominaria. He's an ancient evil dragon. He thought of everything. Except
Dormammu have come to bargain.
Dormammu have come to bargain. He's thought of everything except for, say it with me, the power of friendship.
The friends we made along the way.
The friends we made along the way. Liliana breaks her pact with Nicol Bolas and turns his zombie army against him. One of the remaining gods that Nicol Bolas zombified in this process attacks him and drains him of all of the Planeswalker sparks he's collected so far, and his own Planeswalker spark. And Nicol Bolas dies. The god, the zombie god explodes. All the zombies are dispersed. All is well.
Just like in DC's Blackest Night.
It is like in DC's Blackest Night.
Wait, are we going to talk about Blackest Night some more?
The only comic book arc DC's ever done.
Exactly.
All is well, except Liliana has still now broken her pact with Nicol Bolas, and he is not so kind as to let her off the hook just because he's dead, so she starts disintegrating. Gideon, moved by her sacrifice and also kind of in love with her, they have a whole story arc together where they fall in love. It's a whole thing. Transfers the contract over to himself using his understanding of enchantment magic, and takes the punishment, forever vanishing from the universe. So Gideon Jura is dead to save Liliana. Ugin, the other immortal ancient dragon from the last episodes, shows up and takes Nicol Bolas's body, knowing that Nicol Bolas is never really dead for good. It's only a matter of time before he revives. And if he revives on Ravnica, that's probably going to be bad for a lot of people. So Ugin takes the two of them into a plane kind of separated from the rest of the multiverse and traps both of them there, dooming each other to, die there and ridding the multiverse of two meddlesome dragon planeswalkers.
Interesting. So, okay, so they wrote this in a way that wink, wink, nod, 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 Nicol Bolas never actually die or doesn't actually die. But then they're like, but we're taking his phylactery and throwing it into a pocket dimension so he's dead.
He's dead and gone, unless
Leaving that door cracked open.
leaving that
Got
door
it.
cracked. I have some predictions for the end.
Okay.
Yeah, Nicol Bolas has been a mainstay through the entire Magic story. He has been killed before. He has come back, and so it's a whole like thing that he's like, I'm getting us both out of here. We're gonna go die here together, so we don't ruin any more lives with our dragon shenanigans. That is the wrap up. I left the War of the Spark, as that story is called, on a cliffhanger in our last episode, and it wrapped up. And to have the rest of the stories make sense, you have to know how it ends. To have the rest of these stories also make sense, I have to fill you in on some of the details of New Phyrexia. I left that as a fun book note at the end of those episodes, but the details of that story matter to the rest of the story I'm going to tell you today. So, in the previous episodes, I told you about Mirrodin, the plane Karn created whole cloth so he could play God for a little bit and see what managing a plane entailed. It's an entirely metallic plane. He created it out of metal. And it more or less went fine for a while. So he left to wander the multiverse for a bit. And that is where things went wrong. Two main issues arose. The first, unbeknownst to Karn, was he was infected, with the corrupting Phyrexian oil. It is the material that turns people and things into Phyrexians. So as he built Mirrodin, especially its like golem and other artificial helpers that he made to be his eyes and ears and feet on the ground when he's planeswalking elsewhere, those all were made with the Phyrexian oil like inherently in them. So he built the whole plane with a lurking Phyrexian influence. The second issue that arose was the mending. Following the mending, Karn, also infected with this oil, suddenly could not fight off its influence on him as unconsciously as he was able to in the past. So when he returned to Mirrodin to find a Phyrexian invasion had begun, he felt a compulsion to help the Phyrexians and rule over the Phyrexians, even as he understood the dangers of the Phyrexians on his planet.
So did he know that he was corrupted at this point then?
When he came back and saw Phyrexians there, he kind of put two and two together.
Okay.
And he starts to like hear voices from like not being able to fight it off, and he has this like he does the like Jekyll and Hyde thing where he'll like be Phyrexian for a bit and he'll snap out of him. He's like, no, I can't. And then like,
okay, it was a real like, I shouldn't give Sephiroth the black materia. I'm gonna give Sephiroth the black materia. Got it.
Yes.
Just like that.
That was for me. That was for me, Todd.
That was just for Andrew. It is important to note that at this point, the Phyrexian corruption, the process of turning people Phyrexian called completion, cannot happen to planeswalkers.
Sorry. You have to climax to become a Phyrexian.
Why have we ruined the word completion on this podcast?
Because we were all teenage boys once.
And the Phyrexians can only reach completion if you make eye contact.
Planeswalkers cannot be made fully Phyrexian. So like while Karn while Karn fights off the Phyrexian oil, it is never able to fully like take control of him, even like when he is at its most influenced by it. So this brings us to some of the characters from this set that I need to introduce you to for the rest of these stories to make sense. The first is Tezzeret, a selfish, conniving planeswalker who can manipulate metal and artifacts. picture below. He has an arm made entirely of a magical rare metal called Ethereum. This was named this before the cryptocurrency.
He's a cryptomancer.
Love it.
And due to his own series of failures, he is enslaved by Nicol Bolas through almost the entirety of the last story I told you. He comes to Mirrodin looking for rare artifacts to help with the previous plot for Nicol Bolas, but he finds Phyrexians instead. Nicol Bolas, never letting an opportunity pass him by, tells Tezzeret to, form a relationship with these new Phyrexians, keep an eye on them, but not do anything for now.
Wait, hold on, sorry. You said keep an eye on these new Phyrexians. Now, I feel like I remember the last time we talked about this. Was there a nation called New Phyrexia?
So the whole plane of Mirrodin is now New Phyrexia.
Okay, got it. All right, cool.
Used New Phyrexians as like two separate words because these are, in fact, new.
They're colonists.
They're colonists.
They're colonizing Phyrexians.
Yes.
They're fresh. They're fresh.
They're new in
Phyrexians.
town.
How many more
And it gets worse.
How many more weird references can we make?
So Tezzeret does that, as far as Nicol Bolas can tell, but he also does more than that and tries to work the Phyrexians to his own ends, namely breaking free of Nicol Bolas's control. So he spends the interludes between his other appearances negotiating with the Phyrexians and ends up, following the events of War of the Spark, offering access to the planner portal that he houses in his arm in exchange for getting this planner portal out of him. He installed the planner portal in his arm to steal it and bring it to Nicol Bolas. It's also killing him, which is why he wants it out of his arm. Nicol Bolas was like keeping that destructive force at bay, but with Nicol Bolas gone, Tezzeret isn't strong enough to like not be destroyed by it now. So he's negotiating with the Phyrexians to get it out, which is bad for everybody.
Is it bad? What is the implication of him succumbing to this portal energy? Is he like a walking bomb, or
him succumbing to the portal energy is just him die? He's gonna die.
Okay.
The Phyrexians having access to any kind of interplanar travel is what's bad for everybody.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next set of characters I need to introduce are the 5 Praetors. Praetors. If you can think of a better way to pronounce that word, I've never heard it pronounced in real life, but that is what
it Prae or Prea?
Preators.
All right.
Creators? Like creators, but with a P?
It's possible. I don't know.
I think
either.
Magic the Gathering spells it as Praetor, so I think it's Praetor.
Praetor. Prae. Okay. So Karn made Mirrodin with 5 artificial suns that are the source for all the mana on the plane. Because it's an artificial plane, there aren't locales naturally imbued with mana like there are on other planes. So to make like the life and magic happen, he had to do these 5 suns. So when the Phyrexians started spawning out of the oil on Mirrodin, instead of being mainly black aligned like they were on their home plane and when we saw them first, they were created under each of the 5 colors of mana depending on the sun they were under when they were spawned.
Now, Kyle, this feels like a flimsy excuse to make Phyrexians an entire booster series.
You wouldn't be wrong about that, Andrew. However, it also is cool as hell.
It is cool as hell. It is very
cool. Yeah, it is a flimsy excuse to be like, how can we make Phyrexians more than just black? But we get all 5 colors of Phyrexians, which is some cool stuff. So this caused the new Phyrexians to form 5 factions on the plane that all ultimately want the same goal of making anything and everything Phyrexian, But now they all have different motivations for doing so, and this causes some infighting between the factions.
One of them is orange, and there can only be one of them, right?
Second Green Lantern joke we've had today.
It sure is. So at the head of these 5 factions, then, are the 5 Phyrexian Praetors, the most powerful Phyrexian of their faction. They work together at this point to try and fully complete and transform Karn to make him the new father of machines and their leader. But ultimately, their infighting and disagreement is their weakness and their downfall, and they fail to fully transform Karn into a Phyrexian. And he breaks out and gets away to gather an army to fight another day. But we need to know these 5 Praetors because they come back in the story, and they're super duper cool. So first we have Elish Norn, leader of the White faction. Picture below. Elish Norn believes in
Awesome.
Yeah.
This person's head is it looks like an axe. Like its head is an axe. It's very cool.
Yeah. Elish Norn believes in a strict adherence to the original teachings of Yawgmoth, complete and total conversion of all living beings, even if it means...
Constitutionalist.
Yeah, she's... Yes. A true constitutionalist. So she believes a complete and total conversion of all living beings, even if it means ripping the flesh from their bones and reassembling it into a creation worthy of Phyrexia.
A true Supreme Court justice, then.
A true Supreme Court justice. Like the other white... she has these striking ceramic metallic features that cover twisted, bare flesh and sinew. She is a religious fanatic. She believes she is saving these beings that she's ripping apart and mashing back together and turning into Phyrexians. And as of this, as of current, where the story currently stands, she is currently the Phyrexian leader with the title Mother of Machines, ruling New Phyrexia. Todd, a constitutionalist is a very apt approach, observation of what
because
what
constitutionalists are short-sighted monsters.
Yeah. Well, and she's the other 4 Praetors all kind of think she's a little crazy, and she thinks she has delusions where she thinks she sees Yawgmoth or is talking to him and believes she's carrying out his exact will. So
I love her.
Spot on.
I want to pledge my loyalty to Elish Norn.
So I can see the images coming up. These are all just Doom Eternal bosses. That's all these are.
Yeah.
These are all bosses from Doom Eternal.
The thing that my brain went to, if Destiny was directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Right. It's all got this
good.
This great intersection of technology and body horror and demons, and it all meets right there in the center.
Really fucking cool.
So next we have Jin Gataxis. Jin is the leader of the blue-aligned Phyrexians, and he sees his purpose as seeking the perfect form for all Phyrexians to assume. It is not enough for the Phyrexians just to transform and complete all beings, but to turn them into the most perfect beings they can in the process. His obsession with perfection goes so far as to believe that Yawgmoth deserved to lose, or that his loss was a net positive for Phyrexia, because the fact that he lost means that he was not, in fact, perfect, and therefore would have held Phyrexia back. He is also one of the only Praetors to have studied some other colors of mana, and things that would be considered occult to the Phyrexians, like bringing things back. I don't know exactly what that is, but he has studied things outside of like machinery and necromancy and those main focuses of Phyrexia. Since Jin Gitaxis, he's a very bendy, clawy scientist man.
He is.
I wouldn't have used
dope
man
as
at the
hell.
end of that.
Oh, come on. There's clearly gendered features in this giant metal See the way his chin points down?
That's
that
what it
means
is.
he's a man.
That's that. Yeah, sure. You can gender this monster.
Jin, for what it's worth, everything that refers to Jin Gitaxis refers to him as a he. Elish Norn is always referred to as a she, so I do think most of these are gendered.
Fair. Still wouldn't have called it I think never mind. It's not. This is a dumb conversation to argue about.
Oh, sure it is. Sheol-Red is the black aligned Praetor and has one ultimate goal: to enslave everything. Believers to the cause will serve, and non-believers will be made into believers.
Now this is a Dark Souls boss.
Yeah,
and it's such a Dark Souls boss that this Dark Souls boss already exists.
Yeah,
and her name is the one of the Daughters of Chaos that we talked about on the Dark Souls episode.
I hope that in the ultimate like cutscene for Sheol-Red that she has a voice, but then I want her body mouth to also have a voice. Like I want her voice to be like, "You've come into my lair," and the body voice is meh, 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 meh.
I don't know if the bigger body has a voice or not. I do know.
I already did it for you, Kyle. I don't need to repeat it again.
She can separate from the lower body, and the two can act independently of each other.
I just posted Chaos Witch K-Log.
Oh yeah,
or Quaylog from Dark Souls 1. It's the same thing.
It's the same. These are the just
corporate
two,
asked you
two
to look at the
pictures.
same pictures, and they're the same.
Yeah,
right.
Sheol-Red was the first Praetor to form on Mirrodin. Black being, the core color of Phyrexia. She spawned kind of first. And she still kind of maintains the most intimate knowledge of Mirrodin. She currently serves Elish Norn, though, who kind of wiped out her domain or realm or whatever for plotting against her. But since their goals ultimately do align, she's just kind of waiting it out and biding her time for the right moment to try and take power back from Elish Norn. From there, we go to Vorinclex, the green-aligned Praetor, who only believes in the most extreme version of only the strong will survive, or what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, or pain is weakness leaving the body, or any other platitudes you heard from a coach or gym bro.
Our sport is your sport's punishment.
Yeah. He seeks to make Phyrexia as hostile and violent as possible, as he believes that is what will ultimately result in the strongest Phyrexians. He despises sentience and intelligence, and he feels it only serves to separate Phyrexians from their ultimate goal of consumption.
Also another Supreme Court judge.
Good.
He has no ultimate goals of his own other than to make things kill each other and, force evolution, quote unquote, that way. So he is often the most easily manipulated by the
you don't say.
Praetors. Yeah. He's the big dumb.
He's just mad because he's got little baby arms. He's got like his big arms. And he's got these little baby arms.
He does. He has little mantis.
I'm sure when he gets mad, those get flailing, and the other Praetors make fun of him, and I get that.
They do make fun of him. I did read the stories as these were coming out at the time, and they just treat him like a big idiot, and then have him.
Oh, here comes Vorinclex again.
Yeah.
Hey, Vorinclex, why don't you do more push-ups? No, not with those arms.
With your baby arms. So finally, we move on to the red-aligned Praetor Urabrask. Urabrask is interesting in that he still totally feels the compulsion to complete and make everything Phyrexian, and believes that that would ultimately be better for everyone transformed. But he also has shown a reluctance to assimilate other beings into Phyrexia against their will. He's still like plenty violent and gleeful in his duties when the situation calls for it, but he kind of watches over the like furnace realm, the furnace layer of Mirrodin, where the Phyrexians kind of collect and process all the raw materials they need to create other Phyrexians, and has allowed unassimilated Mirrodins, the people of Mirrodin, to exist there unbothered as long as they don't interfere with the Phyrexians in any way. It's because red is like the mana color of like freedom and individuality mostly. So we don't know his motivations. He still does ultimately work to make everything Phyrexia, but he doesn't take orders well from the other Praetors. He'll leave and just go back to the furnace layer when he gets tired of hearing what they have to say. And he does seem to have a reluctance of some sort to the like colonizing side of Phyrexia.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he's like a long snaky thing with legs and arms, but he's like
I'm having
got
a hard
big
time.
whippy tail.
I'm having a hard time determining what is the head. Is it the big talon? Is that the head?
So
it feels
the
like.
big center thing is the top of the head, and then underneath you can kind of see a lower jaw, and then that is a front arm in front with a second front arm above, and then like legs and a tail behind him.
Okay.
It's like a combination between the alien from Alien vs. Predator or the Alien series and also the new dragon motorcycle from Pokemon.
Yes, exactly, exactly that.
This is a bit of a deep pull, but have any of you guys watched Love, Death, and Robots?
I have not.
No.
Okay, well, this looks exactly like a character from Love, Death, and Robots Season 1 called Sunny from Sunny's Edge. That's nothing for any of you, but someone out there, that's for you.
No, don't wait when you go into those things. Andrew did a materia joke earlier, or a Sephiroth's joke earlier.
Yeah,
you're allowed
right.
to do whatever you
I'm
want.
sorry. More people have played Final Fantasy VII than have seen Love, Death, and Robots.
Not
That's
out of
probably
this source
true.
pool that we have on this podcast, Andrew.
Yeah, according to this
Sample
focus group,
size.
this sample size, those audiences are the exact same
Exactly
size.
the same.
Sure.
Yeah.
So with that, we are caught up to like what you need to know to go into the rest of the main story here. So we are going to take a quick break, and we will be right back with like the new story in Magic the Gathering since 2019.
Actually, this brings up a funny story that I'd like to tell you guys. Manscaped sent us all the Performance Package 4.0, which was very cool of them and included a Lawnmower 4.0, which was awesome. However, I did already have a Lawnmower 3.0, which I had been using upon my giblets for an extended period of time. And typically I go to the barber, they do my undercut, they cut my hair, they trim my beard, they don't trim my balls. That's a me thing, but they do the whole situation.
That would be wild if you were just like
a barber for your balls.
You're gonna tell me that doesn't exist somewhere?
Oh,
that
yeah.
exists
Oh, no,
somewhere.
it super exists somewhere. Anyway, I don't always have time to go to the barber. And when I was still looking for a job and doing a bunch of job interviews, I had a job interview come up and I didn't have time to get a haircut. And so my wonderful girlfriend, Maddie, offered to trim my undercut for me. And I was like, yeah, great. That would be awesome. You can use my beard trimmer to shave my undercut, which went really well. And then she went in front of me to brush out the razor that she had used. And I was like, wait, that doesn't look like my beard trimmer. You used the trimmer for my head, right? And not the trimmer for my balls, right? And the answer to that right was wrong. And that was when I used a ball trimmer on my head, and it worked.
Yeah.
Not that Manscaped's telling us to do that.
Not telling us to do that.
No,
But you could.
It's not a recommended use.
It would be called an off-label use, I think.
Be an
You could, in
off-label
fact,
use.
do that.
I don't know. Did they send us any warranty information? Does it?
No,
void
we are not
warranty?
encouraging any off-label use. We are, however, encouraging that you get 20% off and free shipping with the code DEBATETHIS, all one word, at manscaped.com. That is 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code word DEBATETHIS, all one word. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped, not off-label uses of their products.
I will say, for what it's worth, they did just release recently a beard trimmer that I have ordered. It is on its way, and I look forward to telling you how it goes, which would not be off-label.
That would be
use.
a more appropriate tool to use for that.
That would be
particular
FDA
job.
approved utilization of that product. Yes.
I think we should end this ad.
The trimmings catching newspaper that we all got as well. I found that after Todd pointed that out, that was the purpose of it, and it works really well.
Yeah.
Collects
And
the
it's better than
trimmings
using a towel.
better than turning up a towel.
It is better than using a towel.
You got to plie, man. It's you got to plie.
Matt, I don't have to plie anymore. I can just stand in a comfortable position.
I will only plie when I want to.
You won't be the one that tells me when I plie as an adult.
Yeah. You know who else won't tell you when to plie as an adult? Manscaped. I didn't have a line to read.
And then I was gonna say you can trim your own behind.
Okay.
But this is a ball
You
shaving.
can.
ad.
Hey, it's another sensitive area where that ceramic blade is gonna help reduce nicks and cuts, though.
The Lawnmower 4.0 does include a grundle light, so if you do need to trim your own behind, you could probably do that.
My dad got the Weed Whacker, which is the nose hair trimmer, which I have used it on my nose because I prefer to keep hairs outside of my nose, and it was lovely.
Yeah, I had a nose hair trimmer for a long time, and I started using the Weed Whacker. And what I like, it's the design allows you, like, there's a lot of nose hair trimmers, they only go one way, and you kind of like manage. You have to negotiate the right direction, go with the grain. You know what I mean? I really like the design of the Weed Whacker because you just kind of jam it up there and just like kind of like
really
you're giving yourself.
It does the job. Yeah.
It's basically just like a COVID test, but you just kind of, get a
Yes.
little less farther from your brain and just kind of do it and it's done. But it's really comfortable. You don't feel it in there.
Yep.
You should try it.
Yeah, just try it.
Yeah.
Just do it. It doesn't feel like a COVID test, I promise.
No.
Look yourself in the mirror and ask, is it in yet? With the Manscaped Weed Whacker, get 20% off and free shipping with the code DEBATETHIS, all one word, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use code DEBATETHIS, all one word. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Okay, we are back. So this is all new content since 2019 to the Magic the Gathering story. We are going to start right out of the gate in 2019 again with 3 sets that came out back to back: Throne of Eldraine, Theros Beyond Death, and Zendikar Rising. I am lumping these 3 together because they happened right after the War of the Spark, and much like the MCU in Phase 4, they don't seem to advance the story much, but they have some good character beats in them. So following the events of War of the Spark, the Gatewatch all kind of go their separate ways for some time apart, and so Wizards can react to the backlash that they got for the conclusion to War of the Spark. Mm-hmm. Fans were not happy with War of the Spark, I learned.
Oh, really?
Partially because the biggest one was War of the Spark, the novel for it, went out of its way to retcon Liliana and Nissa, who had been forming a romantic relationship through the course of other stories. They retconned Chandra. Who did I say? I said Liliana. It's Chandra.
Liliana. Oh, okay.
It's Chandra and Nissa. They retconned Liliana with a very weird, awkward line that said something like Chandra looked at Nissa and while she felt feelings for her, knew she could never be attracted to her in the same way she could a man or something. Fans were lit.
That super sucks.
It was
That does
gross.
suck.
It was weird.
And like,
So-
what did you get from that? What did you gain from that?
Right. Yeah.
Hasbro could market these characters in countries that were less LGBTQ friendly.
Well, that doesn't positively affect me.
No. So Wizards kind of doesn't advance the plot so that they can process what fans told them, quote unquote, about the War of the Spark novel. So these sets are fun, but they are some filler and introduce or round out some planeswalkers that haven't had much spotlight yet. So we start in Eldraine. The Grimm Brothers meets Arthurian legend plane. It's half Knights of the Round Table type stories and half like, let's put as many weird Grimm fairy tale type things into one set as possible. It does introduce twin planeswalkers that share a spark, so they can only planeswalk together. I'll talk about them later. It introduces a Fey planeswalker that broke competitive play for a bit, and it sends Garruk, our big green hunter planeswalker, on a quest to rid him of this curse that he's had for a few years at this point. It's a very fun set that is like dripping in flavor, but
You gotta catch up to it. Gotta wait for the manga to catch up.
we're waiting for the manga to catch up. Yeah. So then we go to Theros Beyond Death. This is our return to the Greek myth plane Theros. It's got, Greek gods and legends and stories and an underworld and all that. And it doesn't have very much in the way of a coherent, like, serial story, because this was when Wizards was, like, really recalibrating after War of the Spark. So they, like, didn't release a novel. They didn't write a whole ton of story articles for the main site where stories normally go. It's just kind of a collection of vignettes. The main thing that does happen here is the story brings back the soldier planeswalker Elspeth. Last time the story went to Theros, she died. She fought the gods and killed one, but ultimately the gods won. But because Theros has this like underworld aspect to it, she existed as like this underworld being in the magic equivalent of the river Styx, and was able to be brought back through the events of this Theros Beyond Death set.
I mean, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is neat.
I like a good tie-in that seems like it was intentional.
I do think it will end up being intentional, because Elspeth has a history fighting Phyrexians. Her home plane had been invaded by Phyrexians. She first planeswalked while she was captured and tortured by Phyrexians. So, and like one of her big reoccurring things is she keeps having nightmares of the time she was kidnapped and tortured by the Phyrexians. So I think she will be relevant later.
Kyle, remind me, because it's been 4 years. The actual spark, is having a spark like a mutation, or is that like you're given a power from another worldly patron?
It is more of a mutation.
Okay.
Sure. So from there, the next set is Zendikar Rising, which takes us back to Zendikar, dubbed the Adventure Plane. And we see Zendikar recovering from the Eldrazi attack. We kind of follow Nissa around. This is her home plane, so she's back on Zendikar, generally helping people out, helping different races of Zendikar rebuild. And she gets into an argument with Nahiri, another planeswalker native to this plane. Nahiri was like a stone mage. She crafted weapons and went a little crazy in the last episode. And she gets in an argument with these two, get in an argument over what restoring Zendikar means. Nissa is inclined to kind of just like let the native vegetation and people kind of just take over again and have a very like natural, overgrown kind of world, where Nahiri wants to restore this ancient city of her people, kind of no matter what. She clears away a lot of what ignites this fight is Nahiri like comes in and just like burns a whole bunch of forest to be like, this is where my city is going.
Oh.
Everyone already here be damned. So Nissa calls in Jace for backup, but Jace shows up and kind of sides with Nahiri as well. He's kind of like, oh, you've got a point. Like, your people should have a city back if they're city people. And he decides and he kind of settles with Nahiri, like, I'll help you figure out how to rebuild your city. You just got to do it in a way that like doesn't clear forests and destroy stuff that is already rebuilt, because we're trying to rebuild this plane. So Nissa fights Jace and Nahiri and wins, I think. I don't remember exactly where, but she drives... I do. She drives Jace and Nahiri kind of off Zendikar for the time being, and then continues rebuilding. Yeah, there's Nahiri.
She's cool. I like her. I like her a lot.
Yeah, she's sick.
Yeah. Her whole thing was in the last Innistrad. She went to Innistrad and got trapped in a prison by the vampire planeswalker Sorin for like thousands and thousands of years, and she came out of that prison crazy.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, who among us?
Whomst among us.
Whomst among us.
All right, so now we are back to some main story beats. This is now Kaldheim. Kaldheim is the Norse myth plane. It is separated into 10 realms. I don't know exactly the nature of the 10 realms, but there are 10 realms, kind of like the 9 realms. If you think of like Asgard as a part of a realm, you can activate some stuff and people can travel between these realms, but it requires some amount of magic. But non-planeswalkers can move between these realms. So this story opens with Vorinclex crashing on the plane, having traveled through Tezzeret's planar portal. I've mentioned before that the planar portal can only send inorganic material to other planes, and this time is no different. Vorinclex arrives on Kaldheim as like his metallic skull and skeleton, and like just crashes in a forest and like can't do anything for a bit. Until there's a stag comes too close and like kind of sniffs his skeleton, and Vorinclex is able to like use a bit of magic to kill it and like absorb its flesh to start rebuilding his own anatomy, which is pretty cool. He then further gains mass by like killing every living thing he comes across as he moves to find civilization and like his ultimate goal there. He is trying to take over Kaldheim in the name of Phyrexia, but also to learn kind of the secrets of how the people of Kaldheim are able to move between their 10 realms. Vorinclex encounters the Pain Mage and Devil Planeswalker Tybalt. With a picture of him here.
Pain Mage is my favorite Metal Gear Solid boss.
Tybalt he's a human from Innistrad turned devil. He worked in a like lab where like Frankenstein-esque lab where he tortured people until his planeswalker spark ignited, and then he went to more planes so he could torture new and different people and learn new ways to torture people.
I was wondering, Kyle, where I've seen this before, because this art looks familiar, and I had to look it up, and I'm like, oh, I have this Planeswalker.
Yeah,
but like the 2012 version.
Yeah.
Because this is part of The original one was one I played very heavily.
Yes. So Vorinclex runs into Tybalt on Kaldheim and infects him with Phyrexian oil and uses that infection to blackmail him into working for him. So he kind of says like, hey, I'll give you the antidote to this Phyrexian oil if you help me out. And the way he asks him to help him out is just to create a distraction on the plane. Go distract the gods for a bit so I can figure out how godhood and these 10 realms work here. So
now, Tybalt is this steampunk devil that we're looking at right here. Okay.
Yes. Vorinclex is the guy with the tiny arms from before.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, that's right.
He's got big drama club energy.
Yes, he does.
Big drama club energy.
It's too many belts. That's what it is.
It's all the belts.
Yeah.
So the way Tybalt creates this distraction, or goes about creating this distraction, is he captures and locks up the god of lies from Kaldheim named Valky. It's Loki. He kidnaps and imprisons Loki, basically, and then takes his place and pretends to be him, and then just causes havoc. As Valky, Tybalt got to do one of his favorite pastimes, creating chaos, and in this chaos, Vorinclex is able to find kind of the core of the 10 realms, the spot where the 10 realms all meet, and the source for all of the gods of this plane's godhood, a tree called the God Tree.
Sure. Instead of the world tree, the God Tree. That makes sense.
Right.
It is the world tree, but the God Tree. It is a tree just at the center of these 10 realms, steeped in magic and mystery, and it is the source of a material called Tyrite, which is able to turn new people into gods if they use it in the right way. It also has Tyrite is also linked to being able to traverse the 10 realms here. Vorinclex and Tybalt are ultimately driven off Kaldheim, but not before Vorinclex steals a piece of Tyrite and takes it back to New Phyrexia to be studied.
Cool.
Yeah. From here, we go to another filler set. The next set is Strixhaven. Strixhaven is a school of magic on the plane Arcavios, which Arcavios was formed when two planes kind of crashed into each other and merged to become one. It is very messy and imperfect. So it has two suns, one from each of these planes, but it also has these areas of intense conflicting mana called snarls. And what I mean by conflicting mana is the colors in Magic kind of have colors they work with, and then as such colors they don't work with. So red and black would be considered complementary colors, but red and blue would be considered conflicting colors because the two ideologies kind of are at odds with each other. So Kaldheim has these very rich wells that are of mana specifically in these conflicting color pairs called snarls. Out of these snarls came 5 elder dragons, each of one of the two opposing pairs. Matt, your name up at the top is the green-black dragon, Witherbloom.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's sick.
That's a really good name for a
Witherbloom
green
is
black.
an incredible name.
Yeah.
So this story all happens millennia after that initial crashing, when the dragons have kind of calmed down and built a magic school to teach magic users how to harness the unique mana configurations of this plane.
Everyone's doing a magic school.
Everyone's doing a magic school. Which one of the dragons teach vortex warp?
Which one of the dragons teach?
My favorite ability in 5e.
I gotta find the 5 dragons real quick, but it would be the red blue one, whatever his name is. Or no, yeah, it'd be the red blue.
for anyone who isn't Todd, that joke is related to the new spells that when Dungeons and Dragons released Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos, because there are a handful of new spells that were released in 2021.
Yeah, maybe late 21.
Yeah,
they were released in pretty close into conjunction with the set. Like those came out at about the same time.
Vortex Warp as a spell single-handedly won our Curse of Strahd campaign.
Vortex Warp
saved two people's lives.
Is the most fun and not broken spell to come out of Strixhaven, because there is some nasty stuff that I would, as DM, probably be like, hey, can I convince you not to take that spell because it's bad?
Looking at you, the barbs. What was it?
The silvery barbs.
Yeah.
You basically like force a reroll on things that's not important.
Anyway.
So like I said, this is kind of almost a filler set. Not much happens here story-wise. It's a Liliana focused story though. She comes to Strixhaven and gets a position as a professor at the school under the name Seraphina Onyx, hoping to use the school's resources to find a way to bring Gideon back to life. She feels really guilty that he sacrificed himself for her because she's a necromancer who's always looked out for herself, and now she feels bad about it. We start to see a change of her character more though, taking on white influence from Gideon when they were on Dominaria together, and now she's taking some green influence from the Witherbloom branch of Strixhaven, which is the faction she's a professor under. She stops a plot from an ancient Arcavosian order to destroy the school, and then is basically given tenure there with a couple caveats. She reveals her name and teaches now as Professor Liliana Vess, and she agrees to teach there provided she is able to set up a necromancy branch at the school.
That's the writer that was in the contract.
Yes. Yeah. She gives up trying to resurrect Gideon, instead decides to honor his memory by being a more responsible necromancer.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Real turn of heart right there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Real change. So now we go to more filler sets. The first one here is Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, which some of you might recognize as the place where D&D happens. Magic did a D&D crossover set. Finally, players had asked for it forever, or hadn't asked for it forever, depending on what type of player they were. Hasbro said, hey, why aren't you putting our most profitable branch into our second most profitable branch? And they made the D&D set. Adventures in the Forgotten Realms happens in... the Forgotten Realms is the main location of Dungeons and Dragons. Mm-hmm. And it's the first time the two franchises cross over in a meaningful way for Magic, at least. As Todd mentioned, rulebooks for D&D based on Magic properties had been a thing for most of 5th edition, but this is the first time it went the other way, and we got D&D in our Magic. There are stories here. They're mostly a Magic the Gathering retelling of stories in the Dungeons and Dragon canon. This set is not considered canon to the overall Magic the Gathering story. So they made a D&D set. They made Forgotten Realms a plane in the multiverse, but none of this is considered canon. It's just a fun thing they did.
Putting in a picture of a card that was created. Tiamat, the dragon, the elder dragon god.
Yeah, so it's the evil one of the two.
Tiamat. Oh yeah, you're right. Bahamut is the good one.
Yeah, because Tiamat's the chromatic one.
Bahamut appears also, but as a planeswalker that when you activate its big ability, makes a dragon token. That is Behemoth then. I think he's I don't remember what the planeswalker name is, or I'd have you look it
The
up
flavor
too.
text on Tiamat, just to drive the point home. Quote, "My children will rule over all." So yeah, the bad one.
The bad one.
The bad one.
Grand Master of Flowers,
there he
aka
is.
legendary planeswalker Bahamut.
Yeah, there he
Wild.
is.
And he casts Terra Flare on everybody. Is another Final Fantasy
Not
That's
reference.
fair.
another
Here.
Final Fantasy thing.
See, if you're gonna get me, you need Peace, Love, and Robot references.
This episode is starting to develop a smell. I think we need to move a little more quickly.
It is the Magic the Gathering episode, so it's appropriate.
I do love that that's what they did with Bahamut, though. Like that's fun.
It's really cool.
It is cool. For those of you who aren't looking at this, the Bahamut representative card is a planeswalker that, as it like powers up, turns into a dragon as it like crosses the threshold of power.
It's definitely got big energy of like a golden dragon in these kind of lores would be disguised as a human.
Yeah.
From like the Feywild. And
Yeah,
then,
The Witcher.
yeah.
It's like the first story in The Witcher, and the second book of The Witcher does that.
Sure.
Anyway,
Yes.
let's move on. I'm sorry.
So after Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, we return to Innistrad for 2 sets. They do 2 sets back to back at Innistrad. This is more filler, but we get to see Innistrad now return to its gothic horror roots and recover from the attack from Emrakul, the Eldrazi Titan. The story here the first one, Midnight Hunt, revolves around a clash between the human and werewolf populations on Innistrad as they try and like redefine their territories or whatever. And the second story, Crimson Vow, deals with like the power struggle between vampire families and ultimately results in a vampire wedding, which was what they marketed the whole set on. They like sent out wedding invitations to card shops, and like it was a whole
for
thing.
a specific kind of fan.
Yes.
Very much so. Fun stuff, but no planeswalker shenanigans that tie into our main story. So from there, we go to the next set is Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, which is one of my favorite sets in recent memory. So for context here, Kamigawa is the quote-unquote feudal and mythic Japan plane. It was introduced years and years ago, back close to when I started playing. It is the set that introduced like ninjas and samurai and monks into Magic, all the cool things you associate with feudal Japan. They really drilled in on like, how do we do feudal Japan right? And they got it. They did a really good job of it. It was not a popular plane, so it was not a popular set or block. Like,
Okay.
fan drop off during the first Kamigawa block was high. However, it had been kind of a cult favorite since it came out. For years and years and years, people who stuck with the game asked, like, when are we going back to Kamigawa? And the answer was always, we probably aren't. Didn't sell well. Unfortunately, that's the way these things work. So when they announced it, it was a big deal. And the way they kind of convinced themselves or Hasbro or whoever they had to convince to return to Kamigawa was they jumped centuries into the future, and now instead of being feudal Japan, it's like anime Future City Japan ripped right out of like Akira or Neon Genesis Evangelion. So there are still ninjas and samurai, but they're like techno ninjas and samurai. And
Fuck
like,
yeah.
there are mechs here now. They have a whole set of mechs in this set.
Great.
Here's my
And-
wallet. Where do I sign?
Yeah. This set was the Neon Dynasty, the new Kamigawa set, was immediately a fan favorite, went over very well, and it ties back into our story. So Kamigawa is another plane like Kaldheim that has different realms within it. In this case, it has a spirit realm and a natural realm. The whole story, the first time in Kamigawa was the power hungry emperor stole a spirit from the spirit realm to try and make himself immortal, and the spirits attacked the mortal plane. So now we have these two planes living in harmony. It's a future city, techno future city. It's great, except the blue Praetor of New Phyrexia, Jin Gitaxis, finds his way to Kamigawa to study the nature of these two realms to try and crack the code of planeswalking Phyrexians. He kidnaps some of these spirits, the kami, that have manifested in the natural world, and begins to experiment on them to try and learn how they were able to manifest in the way that they do. In doing so, he does crack the code and is able to complete and transform the first ever Phyrexian planeswalker without them losing their spark, keeping their soul, and he transforms Tamio the Moon Mage, a Kamigawa native, into the first Phyrexian planeswalker. Picture below.
It's pretty cool.
Whoa, that's very cool.
Yeah, that's sick.
He tortures her. He keeps her kidnapped and tortures her forever and ever. She is missing an arm in this picture that she has certainly had in previous appearances, and it was awesome. We have a Phyrexian planeswalker, the thing we were told never could happen.
I feel like never is a bold
it's
like,
always
sentence in
it
this
always
sort of thing.
means it will happen when it needs to happen.
When money dictates it needs to happen.
When money dictates. So after Kamigawa, we return to Dominaria again. This time the set is called we return to Dominaria for two sets, first in Dominaria United and the Brothers' War. Dominaria United shows a Dominaria that is more or less rebuilt after centuries of the Phyrexian War from the previous episode. They're finally more or less recovered from it, and then the Phyrexians show up there again. Everyone is sad. Everyone is unhappy about it. Karn starts calling in all of the favors he has accrued over the years to be like, hey, Phyrexians are back in a big way. You all need to come back. The Gatewatch is summoned, and it looks like they are going to mount a strong force against the Phyrexians, except it is revealed that Ajani Goldmane has also been transformed into a Phyrexian and is there on Dominaria with all of them, part of their plans, and he attacks and is able to split up the group and break up their plans. Here is Ajani as a Phyrexian. You can't super see it. He's got little tentacles coming out of his arms now too. He's got an unhealed scar on his leg to show that he is
time has passed.
He is undead. He's got the metal muscles poking through his normal flesh, and he's a Phyrexian now. Yeah,
that is really cool. You can see his skin is torn.
Yes,
that is, it's really neat. Do we know how he got corrupted?
I do not. I was not able. I don't think they have explicitly spelled out how he got corrupted. This Dominaria United came out a few months ago, and then this next set, the Brothers' War, came out a month ago. This is all very, very recent.
Gotcha.
So the Brothers' War immediately follows Dominaria United. The Brothers' War is the full story I told in the very first Magic the Gathering flavor text. Go back to that to get a recap of the Brothers' War. The reason it is a set now is that after learning the Phyrexians are back, Teferi goes back in time to the Brothers' War to observe and kind of learn where we came from to get here. Maybe we'll learn something to stop them now. But he's back in time currently, like watching the first Phyrexian war unfold, basically.
Cool.
Which brings us to the most current set. I think as of this recording, this set will have just come out, which is Phyrexia All Will Be One. This is
really good name.
Yeah, it is. This is the set. In this set, the Phyrexian plan to invade the multiverse happens. So what has happened is, through learning how to transform planeswalkers into Phyrexians, and through studying the Tyrite shard that Vorin collects, returns to Phyrexia. The Phyrexians are able to create their own kind of corrupted version of the god tree, but instead of connecting like different realms within one plane together, they are able to create this tree that connects hundreds of actual planes to New Phyrexia, and they are able to just send Phyrexians through this tree to other planes to attack. So they start on Dominaria. The Gatewatch planeswalks to New Phyrexia to try and stop them from the inside, basically. And in the process, more planeswalkers become completed or turned into Phyrexians. So as of now, this list is 7 planeswalkers long, and it includes Ajani, Jace, Nahiri is completed, Nissa is completed, Tamyo, and Tybalt, and there's a Gorgon planeswalker named Vraska, who was a love interest of Jace's, who is also completed. Yeah. As of the Gatewatch hatches this plan to destroy New Phyrexia, destroy the entire plane of New Phyrexia. The part of the reason we were on Dominaria for Dominaria United, and one of the things Teferi learned in going back in time, is that there is a artifact called the Stylex that has just been used to destroy entire planes in the past. It's like a cup, but it destroys planes somehow when you like ring it, I think. If you like ring it like you do a cup. So they recreate this Stylex and take it to New Phyrexia to try and essentially detonate it at the plane's core. As they fight through is how these other planeswalkers start getting picked off. It starts with Nissa first, I believe. She kind of gets in, she rushes in, kind of gets in over her head and gets attacked by a bunch of Phyrexians, kidnapped and completed. Jace gets infected by the corrupting oil and more slowly gets completed, but he is able to more or less remain himself and stay true to the cause up until the last minute. He carries this Stylex to the core. He's right there and he's about to detonate it when Elspeth appears on the plane next to him, stabs him, takes the Stylex, and planeswalks away.
Oh,
we don't know where or why. Yeah. The Phyrexians activate Realm Breaker, which is the name of their fake god tree that is connected to all these planes, and start invading planes across the multiverse.
It's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
It's tight.
It's also where the story ends for today.
Wow. I posted something I had mentioned to Kyle. This might have been like a month ago, but I just randomly got a commercial on YouTube that was a trailer. Like, there was a Magic the Gathering trailer a couple months ago, and I thought it was so cool, and it was like I remembered. So part of it is like it's the reveal that Ajani is a bad guy, is a sleeper agent.
Yeah.
And I remember watching. I'm like, that's Ajani. That's the big lion guy. Oh my god, he's a Phyrexian. Holy shit! And it was just like then I was like, I have to know more about this. What is this? I just put the link in the doc at the bottom, but I thought it was like pretty cool. It's on par with like some of the like Apex Legends trailers. Like I don't know, just there's definitely like a place like a I am always in for like a good cinematic trailer. Revealing
absolutely.
your teasing out your story. Like that's great.
And they have certainly upped the quality of their trailers recently.
Also, I put in that stupid vampire wedding announcement.
The vampire wedding invitation.
I do not understand that card.
That's so weird.
It flips over, and on the back is I think it turns in. Oh, it's a different enchantment that does other things, but it flips back and forth between the two sides and does different things based on how many creatures you have.
Great.
Comments, questions, thoughts on the story as a whole.
I feel like every time this is the third time you've talked about Magic the Gathering, I'm always like, whatever, Magic's fine, and I don't think it's that cool. And then every time you push it a little bit further, I'm like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
If I was looking to just like drive
spend
a
all your
financial
money.
hole to spend all of my time and my money on a new complete obsession that would become a cornerstone of my life, this is it.
Yeah.
I love the art, I love the story, and if there were to become fully put together shows of all of this, I would consume it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And I think there is a series.
That's one thing I wanted to mention. So on the second episode, part 2 of the last Magic the Gathering flavor text, I mentioned that the Wizards and Netflix had just struck a deal to have an animated series come to Netflix directed by the Russo brothers. That has not yet happened. There's not been any news about that in the last 4 years. Wizards or Hasbro has not said it is on hold, but everyone kind of suspects now it is in developmental hell and probably not happening, which is unfortunate.
I would add the same sentiments that Todd had of like every time I hear about Magic, it's awesome. I wish for my own self, selfishly, that this cool stuff wasn't locked behind a card game, because I'm never going to get into a card game to get to all this stuff, which is what makes these episodes fun, and it makes it fun to hear about and listen to, because I do think it's really dope, and the art is super sick, and I mean, it's cool, and I'm glad that I can enjoy it from afar, and I'm glad that people have it, because it's definitely... like, I see how cool the world is, and every time I hear about it, I get like lost in it, and I want to know more, and I want to hear about more people and connect more dots, but man, I'm just not going to play a card game. And therein lies the grand fallacy of Magic the Gathering, I suppose.
Every time I play Magic the Gathering, it's like smoking one cigarette.
Yeah.
And I play Magic the Gathering, and afterward I'm like, oh my god, I need more. And I am so close to buying a Bic lighter and 5 things of Cowboy
Spirits.
Killers and American Spirits. And I never do.
When we were in Portland, you did.
Well, I did. I did buy a Bic lighter and a pack of American Spirits. No, I did. We bought pre-made decks, and Kyle and I played. Decks. And it was the optimal experience, because Kyle and I played at a hookah bar, which is just like objectively the best thing that you can do at a hookah bar. That is, science has proven that. very recently of this recording, I taught my wife Magic the Gathering, and she didn't hate it.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think we're gonna get in. I don't think we're gonna be a Magic the Gathering family. But my point being, I wish there. So the last time we did this, I started playing Magic MTG Arena, and I was really into it for like a month, and then I was just getting fucking annihilated left and right. They were mopping the floor with me, and I really wish there was a safe, quote unquote, safe and cost effective way to experience all of this like a single player game or like a TV show that I could just like inject all of the information, experience the thing, and then move on with my life. I understand that that's not profitable.
It's not their business model.
It's not their business model, but yeah, it's great. It's all very cool, very good.
Magic is best enjoyed with your friends at a kitchen table or in a basement or in a hookah bar, just like not trying to do anything too mean, but just trying to see like, hey, I got these cards. Let's see what happens. Like it's a good way to hang out and have something to do with your friends. Before we wrap up tonight, I would like to quickly run through a few planeswalkers that have been like present throughout the story, but for whatever reason I haven't brought up yet. These few have been here, like I said, for a little while now. They've done some stuff. They will probably pop up in future story arcs now that half the Gatewatch is Phyrexian now. But like I said, I just haven't had a good chance to bring them into the main story and feel I should talk about them. So our first one here is Kaya Kassir. She's a ghost assassin from Ravnica.
Nice.
A planeswalking ghost assassin. She gained a reputation on Ravnica for being a ghost buster, basically. She's a ghost buster. She's a ghost busting planeswalker. She has like weird ghostly powers. She has like soul knives that she does, and she's an assassin. She is in the like War of the Spark story. She helps carry out some of the plots. She is on Eldraine, the Arthurian legend plane. She is there like hunting Garruk at that point. She was hired to hunt down Garruk and like stop him from killing other planeswalkers. And after he like lifts his curse and doesn't want to kill planeswalkers anymore, she kind of leaves him be. She is on Kaldheim. She is sent there to hunt down Vorinclex and stop him from doing whatever he is there to do. She gets sent out to hunt down people often. It's a reoccurring theme of hers. And like I said, she's a ghost busting planeswalker, which is really cool. Our next one is simply known as the Wanderer. She's a white aligned planeswalker. She's from Kamigawa, and she is currently the Empress of Kamigawa. Through the events of Neon Dynasty, she gets put in the Emperor position of Kamigawa. She's a former samurai, or is a samurai. She's very well trained in like sword combat. She is constantly, when she's first introduced in War of the Spark, she hides her face all the time under like a giant brim hat, but she is like an unstoppable swords master planeswalker. Just very cool. And the next one is also from Kamigawa. He is a ninja from Kamigawa, and the Wanderer's brother, Kaito Shizuki, or not brother, I'm sorry, childhood friend, these two were kind of brought up together. The Wanderer was raised to be a samurai, and Kaito was there. They sparred together, trained together, and eventually had a like Fox and the Hound-esque ending where like they had to go their separate ways and fulfill their separate roles, but will always remember and fulfill their roles in opposition to each other.
Yeah.
But like will always be friends and be friendly to each other.
Really good Fox and the Hound reference.
Yeah. Right? Our next one here is Luca. He is a like Beastmaster planeswalker. He is one of the planeswalkers that gets transformed into a Phyrexian, and his beast companion gets Phyrexianized as well. The thing that makes him special is that he is like bonded to this beast that is always with him, and the beast is part of his planeswalking. Like where he planeswalk, so too does this creature with him.
This guy looks like he was created to be turned into a Phyrexian.
Yeah, more or less. Like he is a very kind of red shirt planeswalker when he shows up. He is from Ikoria, which is like the kaiju plane.
Of course.
Yeah,
Sure.
we had a kaiju plane.
Yeah.
He's from there.
This kind of dumpy guy, like, here's this nightmare hellish beast. Don't worry, I can control him. Hope nothing bad happens to me. Anyway, I'll leave my keys right outside my pocket. Dup-da-doo.
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems important that he was Phyrexianized. We should all know him, but he's a Beastmaster planeswalker. And then our last set here are Rowan and Will Kenrith. They are the twin planeswalkers I told you about earlier. They share a planeswalker spark. Every time they have shown up in the set in Magic, they have been a double-sided card where you have to pick basically which planeswalker you want to play and then play accordingly. Rowan is a fire mage. Will is an ice mage. They are twins. They do fire and ice things together.
They sure look like it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Right.
They are from the Arthurian set or plane Eldraine. They then showed back up in Strixhaven, where they took classes at the wizard school. Rowan did really, really, really well and learned a lot of cool, powerful fire magic. And Will also attended school at Strixhaven. I would the last one to keep in mind, and we have her picture up earlier, is Elspeth. She's probably going to be our like new white mainstay character now that Gideon is dead. It is very likely that Rowan will eventually be like a new mainstay red planeswalker, and Kaya, the ghost assassin, will be a new black planeswalker. Not that I think any of those characters are going away permanently like Gideon did, but I suspect they will kind of slot them in and give the older characters a break.
Cool.
That's it. Yeah.
Sick, dude. Kyle, I gotta say, I am impressed by your ability to piece all this shit together. I know that we've done a lot of
It's
these flavor
impressive.
texts, and I know that, like, you know, Todd and I can probably tell you the MCU and release order, and Andrew's played every Final Fantasy in both chronological release order and the order that the numbers go. But this...
Both the same things, but please continue.
It's not. Don't lie to me.
10-2 wants to have a chat.
All right.
Magic the Gathering is literally decades of noun soup. And for you to not only digest this noun soup, but organize it into a fast casual style buffet for us is very impressive. And I want to commend you in doing so.
Thank you.
This is
I
the
appreciate
Ryan
it.
Steakhouse of card playing games that I feel satiated. And if I go back for more in this very instance, I will start to hate myself. But I will come back at a later date for more.
We're going to get you, Todd. We're going to get you.
As soon as we're done recording, I'm gonna go pick up a Bic lighter.
Gonna go buy some more cards. We're gonna get that lighter in Todd's hands eventually.
Man,
we got him to play Overwatch. We'll get him to play Magic.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that comparison. That's bad omen.
Corrupt Todd 2023 challenge.
God.
Thank you all for listening to Debate This. You can follow along with the arguments on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at DebateThisCast or on our website at debatethiscast.com. Once more, thanks again to our own resident of #ButtThwompNation, Planeswalker, Zachix, for commissioning this month's flavor text. If you want to be part of the few, the proud, the thwomp, then head over to patreon.com/debatethiscast for access to our exclusive premium feed, regular post-show, and more importantly, the keys to the castle that are making the hosts of this show create 3 separate episodes around the lore of a 30-year-old collectible card game. Until next time, I'm Kyle Harper.
Am I first? I'm scrolling for another word in the doc.
You're first, Matt.
All right, hold on.
I got a good one if you need one.
Yeah, you go ahead. You go first.
No, I was gonna let you have it I've got 2 if you want one.
I'm Andrew, the Chipotle of Techno Zombies Henderson.
I'm Matt, methylated new Phyrexia Cole.
And I'm Todd. On April 18th, don't forget to turn gin to taxes. Thomas.
We got there.
Wait, the other one was Nikki B actually stands for Nicki Minaj. Thomas.
Todd, you don't know how much time I spent trying to square the circle on a ginger taxes joke. I'm glad you did it. Thank you.
Oh, good.
We are saying thank you for debating with us, and if you think we're wrong, you can come fight us behind the swing sets, nerds.
Turn gin to taxes. All right.